Hi everyone, my name is Gwen. My sister Sarah is terribly jealous of my boyfriend Rick because our relationship seems perfect to her, not like hers. But jealousy is a bad trigger for anything, especially in a relationship between sisters, but she didn't realize it at the time. My sister and I met guys almost at the same time. We met them at a club. Rick and Billy had been friends since childhood. Yeah, and it was so funny how we paired up to go out. Even though Billy and Rick were such close friends, they were totally different. One had only rabid adventures on his mind. He was a flighty but really fun company spirit. Rick was more quiet and calm, just like me. We loved to get away from the hustle and bustle of the city and just enjoy the silence and the night sky. At first, Sarah always said her boyfriend was the best because we were boring. I didn't pay attention to what she said because to each his own. I met my soulmate and she met hers. What's wrong with that? But after 4 months, everything changed. One day, my sister came up to me all in tears, very upset. "What's wrong, Sarah?"
"It's everything! Billy! I hate him!"
"What did he do?"
"We got in a fight over a stupid party."
"At Dylan's?"
"Yeah."
"What about it?"
"Well, you know Billy and Rick are hanging out with that Dylan guy. He invited all of us."
"Yeah, and Rick and I decided not to go."
"That's what I'm saying. I don't want to go either because of last time. Do you remember how it all ended?"
"Of course I remember. I'll never forget when Billy got in a fight with Dylan's dad because he and Dylan were drunk, and the cops showed up. That's why we're not going there anymore."
"But Billy wants to. He says it won't happen again, but I know it will. That's the way he is. He just wants to hang out and party. He doesn't know how to live in peace and quiet."
"And that's why you fought?"
"I told him I wasn't going. And then I told him I was sick of it. And he said I must be boring like you and Rick and told me to go hang out with you two."
She was crying so hard, I didn't have the heart to tell her to go away. I just said that maybe he would change his mind. But no, he didn't. And my sister didn't either. Anyway, she eventually went with him to that stupid party. And of course, it ended badly. Sarah called me in the middle of the night and asked me to pick her up. When Rick and I got there was this horror of Billy standing there completely drunk, openly flirting with some other girl, and my sister standing in the street crying. Rick wanted to go to talk to him and he was angry, but I wouldn't let him. We picked Sarah up and drove home. On the way, Rick brought her a huge poppy, coffee, and some chocolate to cheer her up. "And this is for you, Mouse." "What is it? A surprise?"
"Aw, how sweet. Thank you, darling."
I kissed him on the cheek as he got behind the wheel. My sister in the back seat wiped away her tears, ate a burger, and then thanked me.
"Thank you guys for coming to get me and everything."
"You're welcome. Glad to help."
"I didn't think you guys were so nice,"
she told me when we walked into our house. "What are you talking about?"
"I mean, I really always thought you guys were boring, and now Rick bought me food, and you got kinder. Man, I haven't had kindness in 20 years.
You're only 17.
I mean, that's nice of you to say. Billy never did that kind of thing. He thought it was okay to eat at home, but not buy me chocolates or flowers. He'd rather try to get a place at some free party where you could eat or drink for free. You have no idea how many houses I visited with him in those 4 months. And then I got sick of it all."
It happens when you have nothing to talk about in a quiet environment. When your interests converge only at parties, sooner or later, it'll come out.
"But why? Why am I so unlucky?"
"Why? Weren't you happy?"
"I was, but I wish I'd been happier, like you and Rick."
"That's why we're making an effort to be happy together."
"How?"
"We have things to talk about, or just be quiet together. We are nice and cozy together, and we both don't like noise. Maybe that's the problem." I talked to my sister all night long. She wouldn't let up on why she got such a shitty boyfriend and I got such a good one. I tried to explain that everyone was attracted to something different, but she denied it. And then Sarah suddenly blurted out that she'd been jealous of Rick and I for a long time. I was surprised, and she said that she had actually always wanted a relationship like ours.
"Can you show me how to date?"
"What?"
"Well, I'll just go on 2 dates with you and I'll figure it out. Maybe it'll help fix things with Billy."
"Well, okay." I could tell by the look on Rick's face that he really didn't like the idea, but he was embarrassed to say no to a girl whose heart had been broken less than 24 hours ago, so he agreed. We went to the movies, then decided to go rollerblading. The whole time, Sarah was watching our every move intently, and at the movie theater, she sat between us. When we were skating, she kept grabbing Rick's hand and asking him to hold on to her because she didn't know how to skate. And that's when I figured it out, because she's been skating better than me since she was a kid. I took her to the bathroom and told her everything, and she started crying. Like so-and-so, even her sister didn't want her. I felt ashamed and embarrassed and decided to try to forget about it. I thought that was it. But Sarah was already up and running the next day. That day, Rick and I were planning a shopping trip.
I'm in. Can I come?
I thought it was just yesterday.
Yeah, but I don't know how couples go shopping. And I have some shopping to do too.
So Rick and I ended up following Sarah around the boutiques. She tried on gaudy dresses, and each time she asked Rick if he liked them. Why are you asking him and not me?
He's a guy. He should know.
I can too. You look like a bitch. No one wears cleavage like that anymore.
Come on, Gwen. You've got nothing to show for it, and I've got everything to show for it.
I freaked out and took Rick's hand and told him we were leaving. I resented her and used that as an excuse to leave. I didn't talk to her at home either. Then Sarah made Rick and I dinner, which she cooked herself. I didn't want to say yes to it, but he was so apologetic that we accepted her invitation. Rick brought a cake along and we had a good time. Sarah bought some wine and we just casually relaxed and drank. Good thing my parents weren't home. Next, we decided to play a game, Twister. We were freaking out like crazy. And then I went to the bathroom, and when I came back, I saw them kissing. I was shocked. Rick pulled away from her, but I didn't want to see either of them anymore. I screamed, I cried, I was terribly hurt and betrayed. I couldn't believe that they had done this to me. My own sister and my boyfriend. The whole of the next week was misery because I avoided Sarah and I didn't answer Rick's calls. I ran into Billy on the way to the store one day and he asked me how Sarah was, and I told him everything as it was. Then he suggested I get my revenge. How? Kiss me. Send a picture to both of them. Let them know. And then he came in hard on my lips, but I pushed him away and slapped him in the face and walked away. It was a nightmare. And then I had another surprise waiting for me at home. There was Rick on my doorstep. Is this how we resolve things? You didn't even ask me what happened. Your sister jumped me and you walked in on her. And now you're doing this? What are you talking about? And he showed me a picture of Billy and I kissing. What? How did you get that? I get it. You decided to switch with your sister too? Is this some kind of game? I'm not a part of this, okay? Wait, he kissed me, but I slapped him and didn't kiss him back. I met him by chance on the way to... Although, wait. Someone took that picture. Is Sarah home? How did you get here? Sarah texted me that you were ready to talk, but I didn't tell her that, and so we figured it out. We went straight to Billy's house and found the lovebirds in the living room. They were looking at pictures and laughing, and Sarah was talking loudly about how dumb we were in the park with Rick. And then there was a scandal. Rick got in a fight with Billy, kicked his ass, and I yelled at Sarah. That couple got bored and decided to amuse themselves by getting into our relationship and testing its strength. You can't do that. It's been a month since then. I moved in with Rick so I wouldn't have to see my sister. My parents were told that Rick had proposed to me, and we decided to live together, and they said yes.
My name is Anna. I want to tell you a story about my crazy half-brother, Tom. More specifically, how he tried to get me out of the house. To begin with, I didn't find out about Tom's existence very long ago. In general, my father and I lived together. My mother and I were divorced a long time ago, and I don't even remember her. Dad worked and I went to school just like everyone else. But one day, people I didn't know came to our house. I didn't understand what it was at first. A woman with a teenage boy asked me to call my father. I immediately noticed that something was wrong with the kid. He kept looking at me from under his brows. You'd think he hated me, but why would he? We don't even know each other, I thought, and I was wrong. It turned out that this was my half-brother. This woman next to him, his mother. We share a father. Naturally, we were both taken aback by this news. At first, Dad didn't want to admit this fact. He even pretended that they had the wrong address. But the woman was persistent. It was simple. Dad had an affair a long time ago with a certain person, and that woman, when she got pregnant, didn't tell her father about it because he was missing. My father doubted if this was his son, but then he looked at the boy and the questions were settled. He was an exact copy of my late grandfather. Apart from the similarities in appearance with the same hateful look, a little withdrawn, unsociable, taciturn. These two did not think long and stayed temporarily to live with us. Oh, I didn't say. That woman demanded a large sum of money from father for the maintenance of her son. Otherwise, she promised to hire a lawyer and resolve the issue according to the law. Well, while Dad was looking for money, they decided to stay with us. It was the longest 3 weeks of my life. Not only did Miss Holt, Tom's mother, make a mess of the house, but her son continued to stare at me like a killer. At first, I had no idea what this guy was up to. But one morning when I woke up, I saw a note on my dresser in my room. It said, "You're not welcome in the house." I can't say that I was scared, but it was unpleasant, and I knew that Tom was. I crumpled the paper in my fist, stormed into his room, and threw it in his face. I yelled at him, told him it was my house, and let him remember it. At this moment, Miss Holt came in. She saw her son lying awake in bed, and I was yelling at him. Of course, she got it all wrong and threatened me. "If you touch him again, you'll have to deal with me," she told me. Oh, I was beside myself with anger. In the evening, I had a serious conversation with my father. He said that he was sorry about all this, but asked me to be patient for him and my mother. Then he promised to get my mother back, no matter what it took. But first I had to get the money for these two. I gathered my will and decided to be more restrained. The next day, when I got back from school, Tom was sitting in the kitchen having lunch. His mother was hanging around again. My half-brother was in his favorite position, staring at me from the corner of the table. I pretended not to notice him and sat down to eat. Suddenly, the phone rang. When I answered the phone, I went back to my seat and saw dead flies on my plate. I glared at Tom, and he just sat there and didn't even blink. Remembering my promise, I silently threw my lunch in the trash and went to my room. There was a fire burning inside me. I wanted to throw that plate in his face. And so it was every day. Tom was always coming up with something. He would throw my neighbor's dog's feces under the bathroom door, turn off the light in the toilet, and once even cut up my favorite sweatshirt. I held on, but with the last of my strength. I wasn't ready to give up and give him my seat. This was my home and my family, and I was determined to stand up to the end. About 2 weeks later, the little bastard had outperformed all his crazy antics. I once passed by his room. He was just not at home. And there I found a photo from my photo album. Everywhere on my face, eyes are cut out. My mouth, my face is baked with a pen. It was a nightmare. I went to deal with Miss Holt, but she wasn't there either. I know it's not good to go through other people's things, but in her purse, I found medical reports that Tom is suffering from a mental disorder. He's paranoid. That's why he's so unsociable and tried to hurt me in every way. He's just not healthy, I thought. I told my father, and he spoke to Miss Holt. It turns out that she was looking for money for her son's treatment. He is always afraid that he will be left alone, and therefore behaves like this. I know he's made trouble for Anna, but that's only because he thinks she's superior to him in everything. He's afraid I'll leave him and take her with me. It's my fault that he's like this. Miss Holt said to her father and began to cry. I overheard the conversation and felt sorry for him. My father said that if possible, he would help as much as he could. "After all, this is my son too, even though you hid this fact," he said. Dad was very worried about the upcoming conversation with me. He knew how hard the house had been for me lately. He asked me several times to forgive him for what happened, for the fact that I had to pay for his irresponsibility in my youth. Yes, I don't dispute it. I didn't like that everything in our house had changed and that we now had strangers living with us. But when I found out that Tom needed serious treatment, I felt sorry for him. At the same time, I saw how kind my father was. In general, the four of us have been living together ever since. Dad was actively involved in Tony's treatment. We didn't get along very well, but at least he stopped looking at me like a killer. And Miss Holt wasn't such a bitch.